Thank you, Maisie, and thank you to TEDx for inviting me to speak today. So we all know the food system is broken, right? And while the growing food justice movement is making wonderful advances, it hasn't fully included the voices of the workers throughout the food supply chain. Sustainable food should include sustainable jobs for the workers in the food system. 20 million people in the US and millions more around the world work throughout the food supply chain, both for small businesses and big corporations like Walmart, Tyson, Kraft, McDonald's, and DHL. Who are these workers? At the lower paid end of the system are people of color, immigrants, and women workers. These low-wage workers subsidize corporate profits and cheap food. In fact, 7 of the 10 worst-paying jobs in the US are in the food system. And workers are still subjected to racist and discriminatory treatment. White men earn the highest wages of all race and gender groups. But really, the best way to describe the situation of workers in the food system is to share the stories of some of the workers that I have organized with in the Food Chain Workers Alliance. Last year, I met Edith. She works in an Iowa processing plant where she makes 40 cutting motions per minute on the turkey speeding by her position on the line. She's a single mother of 2 and works overtime regularly to support her family. This is a photo of her hands. She showed me a painful bump on her thumb caused by repetitive motions. When she reported this injury to the company nurse, she was told to put tape on it and to keep working. Edith told me, they want us to be working more than a machine can, but we don't want to work that way because we are the ones getting hurt. Our muscles, our hands, and fingers. Last year, I also met Oakland, a cook in Los Angeles. He took a restaurant job knowing he would be paid less than minimum wage and under the table, but he needed the work because of the recession. He worked 16 hours a day and was badly burned on the job. The restaurant didn't have a first aid kit, so Oakland had to buy his own bandages and burn cream. And earlier this year, I met Dee, who works at a warehouse outside of Chicago. He has 2 children, and he was hired by a temp agency to work at a Walmart warehouse run by a subcontractor. Dee was paid a piece rate of $10. That means he and his coworkers were paid $10 for each large pallet of goods that they unloaded from shipping trucks. Sometimes they all together had to share that $10. And so this piece rate rarely added up to minimum wage and overtime pay as required by labor laws. So Dee and other workers filed a class action lawsuit against the temp agency. The next day, Dee was fired. I've been moved by Edith, Oakland, Dee, and the other workers that I've organized with. Their experiences resonate with my own family's history. Starting in the late 1940s, Taiwan was brought under the rule of a brutal Chinese nationalist government. My maternal grandparents' farmland was seized by the regime. The government imposed martial law for almost 50 years and tortured and killed dissidents. So like 80 and millions of immigrant workers in this country, my parents came to the US to escape an undemocratic society and to pursue a better life for their children. They landed in small-town Ohio, where my sister, brother, and I grew up. And we encountered racist attitudes there, as we were among the few Asian Americans in the community. My family's history and my own experiences in the US have inspired me to dedicate my life to organizing exploited workers. I have organized with labor unions, a garment worker center in Los Angeles. This is a picture of one of our rallies there. And also within LASE, an alliance of low-wage workers organizations in the US and Mexico. Through these experiences, I've helped to develop collaborations and mutual support between organizations of workers in the US and Mexico, and Korea and Canada. On a personal level, these experiences have helped me grow as a person and a leader. In 2009, I jumped at the opportunity to help build the Food Chain Workers Alliance. The chance to bring together my passion for workers' rights and environmental justice was and remains very exciting. The leaders of our member organizations came together in July of 2009 and form this unique national coalition. The alliance includes creative, cutting-edge unions, worker centers, and workers' rights advocacy organizations representing workers from farm to plate in agriculture, food processing, meatpacking, logistics and warehouse, food service and restaurant, and grocery. The 13 member groups represent a collective membership of almost 160,000 workers of all races. And the organizations came together in the alliance to improve wages and working conditions and to transform the food system by learning from each other, by building power together more than they can have individually, and by inserting workers' rights into the increasingly influential food justice movement. The Alliance's work is organized into 4 program areas. One is workers' leadership development and solidarity. We organize retreats that bring together workers from throughout the food system to share experiences and strategies, to learn new skills, and to take action in support of each other. For example, last November, we met in Washington, D.C., and protested outside a supermarket to call on the parent corporation to sign a fair food agreement with the tomato farm workers of the Coalition of Immokalee Workers, an alliance member. Edith, the turkey processing worker, said afterwards that she had never participated in a protest before, and she was inspired to go home and one day organize an action like that with her coworkers. In March of this year, we took over 20 workers and organizers from the Alliance down to Florida to participate in a day-long march and rally with CIW and to also visit the town of Immokalee. Afterwards, Luis De Leon, a restaurant worker from Chicago, said, "I think I had a real awakening. Every time I see a tomato, I'll think about who picked this, who distributed this, and were they treated fairly. I'll remember this weekend my whole life." Another program area is campaigns. In order to counteract the corporate stranglehold on the food system, workers need to be organized. And food chain workers are a fundamental part of the food system. They have tremendous potential collective power to win victories towards the goal of a sustainable food system that provides good jobs. So we will coordinate a joint campaign among 2 to 3 of our member organizations in different segments of the food supply chain. A third area of work is policy and standards. We are preparing the first ever comprehensive report on the state of food workers in the U.S. that will include policy recommendations to increase protections and standards for food workers. We need to hear the workers' voices in their own words. So the foundation of this report is 600 surveys of food workers collected by workers themselves. The report will be released at a special summit in May of 2012. Dee, the warehouse worker who attended our training on how to conduct the survey, then went back home to his own organization and became the volunteer survey coordinator. We're also working towards government food purchasing policies that would give preference to local vendors that provide healthy, nutritious food, pay a living wage, and respect workers' rights. And lastly, we work on education and communications. We have developed an educational curriculum available on our website, and we are also now creating a short video with testimonies of workers from throughout the food supply chain. We will see and hear from workers like Edith, Dee, and many others telling their own stories. So we know from history that social change happens when those who are oppressed and marginalized organize together, build strong coalitions, and take direct action. We are using these lessons to build and develop the power of the Food Chain Workers Alliance. I think we are in an historic moment. Food system workers are organizing together. People are occupying Wall Street all around the country. Yeah. And people around the world are rising up. So I think a change is going to come. Thank you.